John Seaman at Road America Racetrack, and this is July 19th, 1997, and we're going to be covering the 1997 Merrill Lynch Brian Redman International Challenge at Road America Racetrack in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The tradition continues in 1997 at Road America with the Vintage Sports Car Drivers Association presenting the International Challenge. It is an extravaganza of 500 or more exotic racing and sports cars, and they will be here to recreate racing history. The event also showcases American road racing by honoring two great marques, the Can-Am Series and the Shelby American cars. The International Challenge this year will welcome the Shelby American Automobile Club, and their members will be attending the annual convention here and had done that July 13th through the 16th. Carroll Shelby and members of the Shelby Club will also be on hand to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the birth of the Shelby Cobra. Carroll Shelby will be honored as Grand Marshal of the National Challenge Shelby American Feature Race, which will showcase many fine examples of Cobras, GT350s, and GT500s.
Anybody with a number less than 10? Got a lot of
with Steve Volk of the Shelby American Museum in Boulder, Colorado. Steve is going to tell us about some of the history of the Cobras and some of the special cars he has in the museum. Steve?
Well, first of all, this is a GT40 Mark IV, 1967 GT40 Mark IV. It was driven by Mario Andretti at the 1967 Le Mans. And of these cars, they made originally eight of these, of which 7 survive today. This is one of the surviving cars, and it is one of the cars in the Shelby American collection. This is the Ken Miles car. It's primarily a USRRC car, and a very, very famous car, driven almost exclusively by Ken Miles in USRRC races and FIA races. This was a development car for Shelby. It is obviously a Shelby factory team car, and it's the first Cobra to have Heim joints. Now this white car over here is actually the last car to race professionally in SCCA. This car was running as late as 1983, where it ran at the SCCA runoffs in Atlanta. Very famous car, and again, the last Cobra to race professionally. This is another car from the Shelby American collection. This is a Cobra LeMans, and it's one of 3 factory team cars. We actually have 2 in the museum that raced in '63. These were very early competition cars, and you'll notice they have the short trunk on them so that they could run with a hard top. So this is a Cobra Le Mans car that was driven by Bob Bondeuront and Dan Gurney. Okay. This is the Sebring car, also a factory team car, also part of the Shelby American collection in Boulder, Colorado. This was driven by Dan Gurney. It's a very early competition car. You'll notice that this is before they started doing the aggressive flares. It has spats on here to comply with the FIA regulations that the tire be covered. And it doesn't even have any vents in the side of it. It's a very, very early car, early factory team car. Now this is a 1964 factory team car. This is an FIA Cobra. Very significant car. It was driven by Dan Gurney, and this is one of the cars in which Carroll Shelby won the World Manufacturers Championship in 1965. Now, as you know, he came very close to winning the championship in '64, but and these races were for points. In the very last race at Monza, Enzo Ferrari had canceled. So Carroll did not win in 1964, but he did in '65. And in 1965, he sent 5 of these FIA Roadsters and 6 Cobra Daytona Coupes to Europe to race. And of the 5 FIA Cobras, only 2 came home intact, and this was one of them. So this is one of 2 surviving FIA cars, and this car also resides in the Shelby American collection in Boulder. Now you'll notice it has very advanced flares, very aggressive flares on the front, and on the back it has the what's known as the cut back door configuration to accommodate the wider wheels and tires. Now also, because of FIA regulations, on the back it has these little areas on the trunk that have been pounded out, and that was because to comply with the FIA rules, you had to be able to fit the FIA suitcase in the trunk. And they didn't discover until at the race that the FIA suitcase wouldn't fit. So they had to quickly hammer out and slam the trunk down, put a bungee cord on it to comply with the rules and regulations of the race. This car was raced by Dan Gurney at the Targa Florio and Enzo Arena at Nürburgring, in addition to other races. It also raced Daytona and so on.
probably requires that B-23 has about really large one.
Burned up 32 cars.
If you have
We're going to Long Break Road there. $6. Please come to the restaurant right away to take $6.
I don't think so, Carroll. Not today.
That's what he said on television.
You're the Grand Master. They don't dare rain on you.
Robert, 5 minutes.
Okay, it's over. Let's go.
Hats are still available. On the front straightaway now, our Grand Marshal, Carroll Shelby, reported development of the car.
Roll out in about 3 months, and he very anxiously looks forward to the debut of that. And figures no race car driver.
Down the road, all the things up my spine, replicated different forms and versions, mostly on board. After this, this guy's time to color car.
Yes, I remember back in 62.
said yesterday they counted 139 different models that I'd built. And I thought, if somebody had asked me, I thought maybe I built 10 or 15.
What do you think about this race course, Carroll, and what was it like to drive it?
It's my best. I like it better than any race course in the country. There used to be a good one at Pebble Beach, around 17 Mile Drive. There used to be a good one at Torrey Pines. You can understand why we had to quit racing around the lake where I started here. You can understand why they had to quit racing on the old course at Watkins Glen. I can understand why we had to go to the airports, and thank God for General LeMans for making that available to us when we had to close all the road courses. But when Cliff Tufte and those guys built this racetrack, they picked the best, the prettiest setting in the country, and I just think it's the outstanding race course in the United States. And as I said, thank God they haven't let one of these guys try to build a monument to himself by changing some of these turns or saying this should happen or that should happen. And they resisted that, and I certainly congratulate them for that, because without a doubt this is the prettiest course in America.
What's the secret? What would you tell somebody that faced with adversity? What's the secret to keep on going and make the best situation on something?
It's awful tough. It's awful tough. But the thing, my philosophy, one of them in life is that everything, no matter what it is, if you'll hang in there, if you hang tough, you'll realize it was for the best. I've never had anything happen to me that didn't turn out for the best. It's awful tough. I lost my wife 2 months ago. It hasn't come around to me yet why that was for the best. I'm sure that she and I have faith that there's a reason.
Mr. Shelby, how could you explain the continued popularity of your cars and the excitement around the Cobra and the Shelby cars?
I don't know. I often try to figure that out. There's a lot of luck. You know, we talked about luck. I built those cars. We built those cars just at the time that emissions and safety were coming in. I imagine if that hadn't happened, if I wasn't lucky enough for that to happen then, that other companies would have jumped in and probably built something better or tried to build something better. It would have been fun to try to keep up and see, but safety and emissions came along, mandated by the government, and people quit building cars like that, and mine were the last built. So I think that I would put that in that luck category that I mentioned to begin with.
Gentlemen, we're on the last lap. Mr. Shelby's going to be presenting the trophy. So.
Able to take on the Gulf Porsches in the 1917s and do a very good job beating arch rivals, big wide leaders.
That's a keeper and that's a drinker.
You got it. Okay.
Live from the winner's circle, I'm Bob Applegate. He's Carroll Shelby, and these are the top 3 finishers. This is a big day for Road America. We're going to start off talking to the 3rd place finisher, Mr. Hutchins. Mr. Hitchens. Well, now your name will be engraved forever, and every announcer will be able to announce it properly. You qualified 6th. You ran up into 3rd. One of the GT40s dropped out. That was a big break for you.
Slowed for a while, and then I had the chance to overtake him, but I sure could live with Karl.
How much seat time have you had in the Cobra?
Oh, I've been driving the Cobra since 1978.
First time at Elkhart Lake. Never been here before.
Never been here before. Did you cut your teeth driving them in Europe?
Yeah, I do FIA European Championship.
Excellent drive here this afternoon. The lap times among the top three finishers were very consistent. The top end speeds were something that we looked at a lot. Y'all were also very close in top end speed. That has a lot of bearing on how well you can do in a long track like this.
Close on top end speed? Oh, I'm very surprised because I'm pulling 409, which is a very short dip for European circuits.
What about the traffic? Y'all didn't get into the back markers until very late in the race. Was it a problem, or did it change your strategy at all?
No, the back markers were very good. There was no problem at all.
All right, third place finish in the AC Cobra, the SF Hitchens. Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for a third place finisher. Congratulations. We'll move to second place. Mr. Benjamin, excellent race. And we were talking about top end speed once again, and you had it going on there. You were closing on the leader at a very fast rate. As we clocked it here at the front straightaway, first it was 3 seconds, then it was a second and a half, then it was a second point 2. About 4 more laps, I think he'd have been in the pocket there.
Well,
That's the way racing goes, but an excellent job. The car seemed to run like a champ. You were doing a great job.
yeah, car was running real well. Guys got it really well prepared for this race, and Carl and I have had it yet. Keep going.
How about, well, unlike SF, have you got some seat time in here at Road America?
Yeah, sure have. Carl, matter of fact, 95 at the Shelby event. Then Carl won that one and came in third there. I'll keep coming back.
All right, are you a purist? Have you been spending most of your time in the Cobra?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, Carroll Shelby congratulating our second place finisher. Let's hear for Tom Benjamin, who says the leader let him catch up. I don't know about that. You were giving him some breaks there.
I wasn't letting him do anything. No, whatever he did on his own. You know, this is really amazing. I've waited 35 years to beat Carroll Shelby. And now I've met him twice, 2 days in a row. This is great.
This is kind of the right way to meet a guy like this, too, you know? Put his car at the top of the podium in the winner's circle. Karl Schrftmayer again, he qualified second behind Bob Bondeurant disappearing early in the race. Schrftmayer taking control of it, turning a string of 2-minute 31 to 32-second lap times. He was very strong, very consistent, and I think that was the secret to your finish here this afternoon. You were in the groove. Your lap times didn't vary by more than a couple tenths every lap.
Well, I had to drive harder and harder because I dropped a cylinder, and it was good for me because I had to make sure I was in exactly the right spot. A little down on horsepower, and these guys were breathing right down my back.
Do you hear that, y'all? Second and third place finishers. He was a little down on horsepower. Hence the closure there. Let's hear it for our winner of the Shelby American feature, Dan Schrftmayer. All 3 AC Cobras is finishing in the top 3. A great day here at Road America. We're going to continue on. The Thunder coming up next. We'll hear the Can-Am cars moving into their starting.
Hold them up. Hold them up. Just happened. All right. Hey, what a feeling, huh?
I'm with Tom Mittler, and he has several interesting cars he's going to talk about today. This is a very unusual Cunningham. Would you tell us about it, please?
Briggs Cunningham was one of the wonderful American sportsmen, and he made the Cunningham. He entered a few cars in the LeMans Grand Prix race, and he built first the LeMonster, which was a Cadillac with a very strange body on it, and then he started getting very serious, and he built the C2R. He built 3 of them, and the first road race was here at Elkhart Lake, and they won their race, and then they took them to Le Mans, and they finished, but they didn't win. As a matter of fact, Briggs never won Le Mans, but he came very close. And this is one of 2 surviving C2Rs. The other one happens to be in Zurich, Switzerland, owned by a gentleman in Vermont. And this is the other one. And we just finished getting it restored, and is the quintessent American early 1951 car. It's just a heavy brute, goes very, very fast with a Chrysler Hemi in a straight line. And like cars of that vintage, doesn't turn real well.
Now this car, you said, was one that ran at Elkhart Lake here when they had the races through the town, is that right?
That's correct. They went around the lake, and I met Phil Hill one time, and unfortunately I didn't know who he was. He introduced himself, and I said, "Oh, I know that," you know, and he described every turn of that race from memory, and it was like I don't know, a 20-mile course or something that they ran a number of times, and had the streets all blocked off. And the other famous road race was Watkins Glen, and they took these cars also to Watkins Glen and raced them.
Now the other Cunningham that's very noteworthy that they raced, was that the C4R?
The next iteration after the C2R was the C4R, and it had a large oil cooler on the side, and they made, I believe, 1 coupe and 2 roadsters. And then they made a C5R. I don't know if they made 1 or 2 of those, and a couple more. So maybe a handful of 10 or 12 race cars through maybe 6 years of building cars in Palm Springs. And then, since it wasn't financially successful, if he didn't stop doing it, he'd have to pay taxes as a hobby rather than as a business. American car, a guy by the name of Wacky Arnold in Warsaw, Indiana, was sort of his creation. It's a Bristol engine and chassis, which is English. He had the cars then shipped to Italy, and Bertone built the bodies, had them shipped to Chicago, hung the doors on in Chicago, so it's considered an American sports racer. And they ran at Le Mans, or at Sebring, and were quite successful, won in their class a number of different years. They made about 120 cars. And Warsaw, Indiana is pretty close to Mishawaka, Indiana, where I live. And when I was just out of college, I'd bought one, and then got married, had kids, sold it, and now I'm got one back. Everybody asks me about the Honker and what is it, and Holman and Moody, which is an American concern, made the chassis and everything else. It's not a Lola, it's an American-made Holman and Moody car. They made a series of 1 car. Paul Newman owned the car, and Mario Andretti drove it, and there's a famous story where Mario was very upset after a few laps in the car because it was kind of ill handling, and said to Paul, he said, "Why don't you sell me the car and you drive it? This is terrible." But we've now have it sorted out quite well, and as I tell people, it'll go faster with something else in it.
Now you just finished racing here a few minutes ago, and you were in some pretty fast company. So how does the car go now? You say it goes pretty good?
It goes very fine. I'm not a real skilled driver. I kind of do it as a hobby, and there's some people that are retired Can-Am drivers, etc. So you just have to know your skill level and you know, take it easy. Don't get in trouble, you know, and nobody knows who won anyway. So
well, it's real good to see these cars restored. It adds a lot of history to vintage racing, and